this year's Xbox Showcase made up for last year's, and I'd say it overpassed Sony's show from this year. Last year's Xbox show left me insanely disappointed. Surprising lack of first party, tons of indies, tons of third party, timed or not even that. Like, there was really nothing to get me excited in last year's show. I'd consider that show a disaster. Whereas this show, although not perfect, did what I expected. I basically did what I wanted, which is basically to show what they've already showed us. Because I believe in 2020, 2021, they showed us a bunch of CGs for games that were down the pipeline, which is cool because we got to kind of see what was down the road with all the acquisitions that they've made. But last year's show didn't really give us any insight into much of those games. And this show, I believe, did a better job at that. In my opinion, graphically impressive games wasn't the majority of what they showed, but two, I'd say in particular, that do stand up graphically to third parties like EA and Ubisoft and first parties like Sony are Hellblade and the Fable game. Because Fable was in-engine. It was basically in-engine cutscenes with kind of photo mode type, theater mode type gameplay. And Hellblade, it was slightly disappointing because the gameplay that we did see was just walking simulator and cutscene. Those two, I'd say, are showing the power of the Series X. I'm sure both will be 60 frames on the Series X, 30 on the Series S. And yeah, those games, like I'd say Fable is definitely the more impressive one since it's open world. We got to kind of see the combat, got to kind of see some of the set pieces with the giant. It's cool that they got that comedian in there. I believe it's from the IT crowd. So it looks like they're keeping the British humor. Maybe not going... Maybe more so snarky than potty, which I don't mind. We got to see a female protagonist. As we know, Fable, there's usually two options. I don't know if there's going to be any in-depth character creation tools. I doubt it. Probably just presets for every race because I'm sure they're going to be very inclusive. As we saw, there were black characters, which is pretty cool. Hellblade, yeah, I really want to see combat because the first game's combat, while fine, wasn't nothing to write home about. And if you're treating this as like a flagship AAA, you gotta be good in that department. Because Hellblade, yeah, it was like a 10, 12 hour experience, beautiful graphics, but the game was basically looking puzzles, walking, atmosphere, and whatever combat. For I believe it was a $30 AA title, perfect. But if you're marketing this as your flagship AAA game, I feel like you have to do more than that. Fable, we know what Fable is. They're going for a more cinematic approach. Other games that, although they look good, weren't super next gen, but I'm still excited for are Avowed. Avowed, I was expecting something more Skyrim, something more slow paced, but what we got was something more fast paced. It's basically taking a lot of elements from Skyrim with the spells, but making it more action packed. There's certain scenes that looked really good, certain scenes that looked of the Sea of Thieves kind of variety, but it is graphically good. But this could probably run on the Xbox One Xbox One, at 30 frames with relatively similar graphics at 720p. So it wasn't like a super next gen only game, Avowed. But I'm liking the fast paced combat. I'm definitely seeing Outer Worlds art style influence in here. But the game looked good. It's another Western RPG. I already mentioned Fable and now we got this game, Avowed. So Xbox is looking to be heavily invested in the Western RPG market. Another Western RPG, a completely new announcement, which was the Clockwork Revolution. Everybody's getting Bioshock Infinite vibes, heavy steampunk influence. Again, a game, at certain points it looks great, like certain shots of the buildings and the Zeppelin looked amazing, but then you look at the character models and they look fine, but they're not super photorealistic. They do kind of have a cartoonish twist to them, which is what gamers were expecting from every game. Fable and Hellblade at least broke from that mold, but that game and the Avowed do kind of have a cartoonish twist to them. So they didn't beat the expectations there. They kind of stayed to what was expected, but this game actually looks to have Fable elements with the world bending, where like an event that happens in the game changes how the world is later on. Let's hope it's not Peter Molyneux. Let's hope they actually encourage multiple playthroughs with actual world twisting events, not as scripted as it was in the old Fable games. But that game looks good. Another RPG. They showed the Compulsion game, which Compulsion they're more for like indie AA games, but this has a game with like that claymation kind of almost Spider-Verse type art style. We know nothing of this game. This game, we know nothing of it. Just know that it's kind of in Louisiana, Bayou. Looks to be supernatural. So yeah, I'm intrigued, but again, I wasn't very impressed. Well, I was impressed with the visuals, but it was in engine. It wasn't in game like Fable was. So who knows how this turns out. The Flight Simulator 2024 was a new announcement. Cool. Looks like we're gonna be getting these games regularly. I believe the last one came out in 2019, so it's been a good couple years. And we're getting a sequel 5 years later, which is a pretty good turnaround time. So a new game on the list. Is it niche? Absolutely. Is it graphically impressive? Absolutely. But it wasn't the craziest announcement. They announced this other game. I think was it Towerborn, which is basically another Castle Crashers. That looks like a 360 game. People are saying Avowed looked like a 360 game or bugging. That was a 360 game. Cool, but nothing crazy in my opinion. I'm not super excited for that. Starfield. Starfield is absolutely the most next-gen game we have seen. Just in terms of what you can do, what the game entails, the sheer content and scale of the game. I'd even say the graphics look really freaking good, especially given how much the game offers you and how much variety of content it has, variety of play styles with tons of different classes, base building, the whole nine, dog fighting. It was pretty cool. I didn't even know they were gonna go for like full melee builds, but I might actually check that out and consider that when I play it. But the elephant in the room, besides it being the most impressive game gameplay wise in this current gen, this is the most next gen game I've seen. But it is locked at 30 frames on consoles, which to me is stupid. I wouldn't mind if they launched it at 30 frames on consoles and had a 1080p 60 frame patch on the Series X eventually. I don't expect this game to be 60 frames on the Series S, but if this game could totally be 1080 60 on the Series X. But for some reason it is not. Hopefully if the fans cry and do better, because I'm playing this on PC either way because I have a Series S. But the Series X gamers should complain about this and should beg Microsoft and Bethesda for a 60 frame patch down the line, because to me that's unacceptable. I give the show 8.5 because they showed us games that were down the line. They gave us release years, which is what I was expecting. I didn't think Avowed was this soon, but we got Avowed next year, we got Flight Simulator next year, we got Hellblade next year. Fable did not have a date. Compulsion definitely did not have a date. What was the other one? The In Exile, the Clockwork Revolution does not have a date. But those are probably early 2025, possibly late 2024, but I'm not holding out on that. We got our upcoming show on Tuesday, which hopefully they can show more in-depth footage of Avowed and Fable and the Hellblade. We need to see combat for that, because yeah, they showed in-engine. Like, they did not show any CGI, which they promised, but they didn't show us anything new about Hellblade, which I'm opposed to. And then, Hellblade, frankly, is a walking simulator. A lot of it, like a third of the game, is that. So, and they're not dispelling that stigma from the game at all, because it still looks to be that. Downsides of the show were definitely the live games as a service games, like Sea of Thieves appearing with the Monkey Island DLC. Cool, but they should show that on Tuesday's show instead of the actual main stage. Again, I would have liked to see some Hellblade combat. Another one, the Elder Scrolls Online, I can't believe we're still seeing that. Fallout 76, I can't believe we're still seeing that. That was whack. Other highlights would be the Japanese support. So we're getting a new Capcom game. Capcom is one of the best, probably the best publisher and developers out right now. But that so it's not a surprise that they have a new IP coming out to Xbox, launching on Game Pass. But Persona seems to Xbox seems to be Atlas and Shin Megami Tensei's lead platform, because they got a new Shin Megami Tensei game. What was it called? Revelation. I forgot. I already forgot the Anomaly, some shit like that. But it looks good. Definitely leaning into the Persona more than this SMT. But we got that. We got Persona 5 Tactics. And we got Persona 3 Remake, which I'm happy about, because Persona 3 Portable is definitely a bare bones, sauceless game. and it looks like this has Persona 5 basically gameplay, graphics, HUD elements, and at least inspired by it. So I'm very excited for that. But yeah, game of the show, obviously Starfield. This is definitely the most next gen game. I'd put Avowed and the inXile project right behind that, with Fable there as well. Definitely an 8.5 show. Way better than the last year's show. I'd say it's better than Sony's show. But I will say Sony does not have to have a good show. Don't shoot me, but they've done a good amount this generation already. You know, they launched the Miles Morales standalone DLC, the Ratchet and Clank, Horizon, Forbidden West. They launched God of War, the Sackboy. Laugh all you want, but it's a game, and it's graphically pretty good. Sackboy. What else? What else? What else has Sony launched? I'm drawing a blank here. But that's a good amount of games that they've already launched. Returnal. So that they got a good amount of games, whereas Xbox has only launched Halo Infinite, Flight Simulator. See that this is the struggle of being an Xbox gamer. Redfall. What else? Forza Horizon. Oh yeah, Sony launched Gran Turismo. Yeah, like what was that? 7 games to Xbox's 4. So yeah, Xbox definitely has a lot to make up for. Sony could afford this, and as far as games that both of them have left, you know, Xbox still has to show Indiana Jones. They still got to show Everwild. They still got to show Perfect Dark. They got to show Contraband. They got to show the new Kojima game. So there's still definitely a lot down the pipeline. Knowing how crazy expensive and time-consuming development is, I was really only expecting them to show what we already knew about, which they did, but they did announce some new games, which was cool. I'm hoping next show we see more of what we saw in the previous shows, so definitely want to see Perfect Dark soon. But yeah, great show. I definitely had some problems with it, but it was still an overall amazing show. And yeah, I'm content as an Xbox gamer. Looks like Game Pass isn't impacting quality that much, because we got, again, the most next gen game gameplay wise in Starfield, some really next gen looking games like Hellblade and Fable, and we got some fun, probably massive RPGs coming out with Avowed and inXile's Clockwork Revolution. So tons of third parties coming to Game Pass as well. The 1 terabyte Series S, I think it was a misstep making it 350. And I would have liked to see a Starfield custom console. That was a misstep as well. But then again, and I would have liked to see Xbox incorporate a internal charger, or at least bundle all the consoles with a plain charge. The fact that they're still using AA batteries is probably more anti-consumer than anything Sony is doing right now. But I was happy with the show. And if you're hating on it, you're bugging. But hey, that's just my opinion. But all right, yeah, take it easy. Hope you enjoyed the show as well, and yeah, I'm excited as a Series S owner and Game Pass subscriber. So they did what I wanted them to do. It shows me that they are the games, because last year or 2 years ago, I made a video called Xbox E3 Greatness Awaits, something like that, because yeah, they showed a bunch of games on the pipeline, but I knew them shits weren't coming out anytime soon. Looks like they're starting to roll them out, so I'm happy about that. So, and I'm happy to see Xbox finally competing, because again, Sony has been smoking them these first few years in the generation, so and it's not been close. And now I think Xbox is finally putting up a fight. I mean, Sony's pretty much had to make Square Enix a first party studio to compete with all these Western RPGs that Microsoft is getting, because if you're a Western RPG fan, Xbox and PC is where you really gotta be at the moment. So yeah. But alright, yeah, take it easy and have a good one, and yeah, keep gaming. Peace out.